Good evening, good people. We are back. We are back. Yo, it's been a very long time. A very long time. I don't know. I should play some music. You know that John Cena what soundtrack that he plays when uh when he enters the ring, because it's been too long. And I am not alone. I am with my co-host, Miss Alisa Mutaung, who will be carrying this space tonight. So tonight we're just unpacking the vegetable market access in South Africa, the motherland, and we'll try and cover almost every region in South Africa. So from Cape Town up to Johannesburg, but we are both focused in KZN. So without wasting any time, Miss Palisa Mutaunge, please introduce yourself.
Hi, Shana. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me today. Looking forward to talking about vegetables.
That didn't sound convincing. Yo, but I understand. Yo, we've had like this weekend was just too much, yeah. It was just too much.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm hoping that remember, we haven't remember this space was called something in Dava back in the day. So now so now it has moved. It has even changed its name to Farming with Shana. So a lot has changed, and I'm hoping to what has happened, especially in my life. So I'm hoping that we're going to be back for at least maybe once a month, or I don't know, but we'll see. So yeah, without wasting any time, Palisa, I have quite a number of questions for you directed to you. So I hope you're ready. I hope you are really ready for answering these questions. And remember, guys, this our space is just like an information sharing space. So your views are valid, and you can request what you call this thing, a mic, to speak. But for now, for the first say 15-20 minutes, I will just be asking Ms. Palisa Mutaonga some few questions regarding vegetable market access in South Africa, and she'll answer to her best ability. But I know she's pro, guys. Like yo, she can, yeah. She yo, yeah. So, Palisa, who is Palisa Mutaung? Just and just like 2 minutes, like cause I don't know how to introduce you. You know.
Sure, Shana. So my name is Kipalisa, and I am a co-founder at a company called Agricool, and we help farmers access markets by allowing them to supply through our supplier contracts, helping with transport, and also educating them about what the retailer requires from them, and also sharing with them a bit of market intelligence so they can make better decisions as farmers. That's what we do at Agricool.
So I can call you what you call this Agritech founder, co-founder, if I may put it in that in those words.
Yeah, I would say that I'm very, very interested in Agritech. But to be
Mm.
honest, only now, well, it's the second time Agricool tries to use tech to do what we do. But I would say right now, um, it's still more agri-business than tech. Our developers are building our platform now, and we should be piloting like the beta version maybe in the next 2 to 4 weeks. But by the end of this year, we will be trading using our platform. So farmers will be able to upload produce on our website, and buyers will be also able to find produce on our website.
Yo, this is big. This is big. This is big. And you did share with me some stats, some interesting stats during the week. And numbers are crazy. Numbers are crazy. You guys are killing it, and I'm so happy for you. And I'm really happy what you guys are doing, especially for the small guys. people like us who are small scale farmers. You guys are doing, yo, I don't know if it's even God's work what you guys are doing. But without wasting without wasting any further time, so Opalisa, when I first saw you, I saw this what you call suburban, person. Like I
What?
didn't see a farmer. So why farming? No, like there's like people from cities. Like I don't know what they're called, but yeah. So why farming? Like out of like out of all the sectors that you could have ventured to, why end up in the what they call us dirty, not dirty people, but it's a dirty business because it's just mud everywhere.
Yeah. So, yes, I am a city girl, but I did study agriculture. I have a master's degree in agricultural soil science. So, obviously, for me to study it up to that level, I was quite interested in, um, like, it started off as an interest in natural resource conservation. So, I just asked myself, like, in my undergrad, what are the careers or the professions of the future? And I knew that in the future, the world is gonna run more and more into scarcity, right? Natural resources are dying out, population is growing. So I just thought, and I also researched what industries will make me someone that's valuable 10, 50 years from now. So obviously, industries that are becoming more valuable is like governance, development finance, science, agriculture, tech. So those are the industries that, if you just think about it, are becoming more and more important, and will probably dominate, if not forever, for the next 2, 3, 500 years. So in my undergrad was geology, and when I had that conversation with myself, I was like, hey, mining doesn't seem like, and I might be wrong, but it was just my opinion, that I was like, mining doesn't seem like um, a profession of the future, especially how I like thought about it at that time, that professions of the future are about sustainability or governance, so not only are some of the natural resources, minerals, depleting, or becoming more difficult to extract, but there's also more like strict rules about the impact of mining, and so when I finished my geology degree, I thought, where can I do my honors? And I had been doing some soil science modules in my undergrad, and I was just like, this is cool because I learn about soil chemistry, soil physics, and I'm just like, this is very cool. So that's how I ended up kind of going into environmental soil science and eventually agri soil science. Yeah, that's how my journey into agriculture started.
Awesome, awesome. And look at you now. Look at you. Huh? Look at you. Ah, you are prospering. You are shining. So I'm always encouraging people to do farming. I'm always, after people. You see, if I see someone that this one, is still not sure, I will try by all means to, talk to him or her about, there's a gap in the market of farmers. We do not have enough farmers to feed ourselves. We do have commercial farmers, but most commercial farmers are sending their produce overseas, like they're in the export markets. They just want money. So we need the small guys to, provide the informal and the formal markets, and make a living. You can make six figures in 5 to 10 years just trading or just farming in a small 5 hectare farm, if you mean business and if you are serious. And there's just one farmer that I am so inspired of, and I wrote an article about him, Upenika Umlimi. I'm not sure if he's here, but where he started and how far he is right now, it's amazing. Okay, so talking about the formal and informal situation markets in South Africa, what are your views, Palisa? And can you just enlighten us when someone say, "Hi, you are trading at an informal market," or you are trading at a formal market, and people usually misinterpret the two in a way that some will say fresh produce markets are informal, but others will say are formal. So just to bring light to those two what situations, formal versus informal markets. Thank you.
Sure, Shana. So, okay, specifically for fresh produce, not for all agri products. I'm going to speak about fresh produce, meaning vegetables, horticulture, so vegetables, flowers, and fruits. But I'm going to focus on veg because that's the one I've had the privilege to deal with. Hopefully, in future, I will also get into the other types of crops and know more about them. But I would say, obviously, South Africa is very different from other African countries. South Africa's agricultural sector is often called a dual agrarian sector, meaning that we have a very sophisticated, advanced commercial agriculture sector, which is often led by white men, but it doesn't mean that there's no black men or women in that sector, but it's typically very intensive, highly commercial, as Shana mentioned, maybe geared toward the export markets. Then we have an informal sector. So maybe I went back a bit from markets. Before I talk about the market, I was just describing the type of farmer. But I think it's good to talk about types of farmer before I talk about types of market because it's a little bit linked. So the dual agrarian system in South Africa is rich, intensive white farmers basically, and then small scale farmers. I think there's about 300,000 commercial farmers in South Africa and about a million, I think, smallholder farmers. Unlike the rest of Africa, because people like posting this stat that 80% of Africa's food is produced by smallholder farmers. That's not true in South Africa. Um, uh, our industry is highly geared towards commercial farmers. So I spoke about the types of farmers. I'm gonna go to the markets. So I would say for fresh produce, we have an informal and a formal market. The formal market is mainly your retailers. So maybe your top five retailers: Checkers, Pick n Pay, Spar, Woolies, uh, yeah, and also the other little shops that you guys know, Cambridge. They're all being absorbed by the big retailers. Like ShopRite just absorbed Cambridge. They absorbed, I think, Rhino. So we're heading towards more and more consolidation. But apart from the big five retailers, you also have your medium-sized, smaller nyana supermarkets. If you're from Maritzburg, you'll know Save Hyper, Super Safe. Those are also formal retailers. Then you also have your fresh produce market. I group it in the formal because it's a very, very formal market, but it's also a distinct part of the retail market of South Africa. So the fresh produce markets, there's 17 in South Africa, I believe. And the fresh produce markets, it's municipal infrastructure. So like the one in Tshwane in Pretoria, the one in Joburg, the one in Durban, the one in Pietermaritzburg. There's 17 in the country, and the buildings are owned by the local municipality, and they invite. So the building is a floor with infrastructure. Whatever infrastructure is required to trade goods. Example: cold storage, pallet jacks, storage facilities, crates, pallets, stuff like that. Obviously, the more sophisticated, like the bigger ones, like Joburg, they'll even have fancy things like ripening rooms, like banana ripening rooms, which is quite a big thing also in the fresh produce space. So the fresh produce markets, they 17. They have the infrastructure in the building provided by the government, and then an agent like RSA, like Henley, and so forth, they will pay for space on the floor. So if I am a market agent, I can set up my little area there, buy space, and then I have relationships with retailers. So some of the big retailers, such as Pick n Pay and Spar, some of them buy directly from the market. right? So as a agent at the market, it could be someone that has a small spaza shop buying from me. It could be an informal trader like a hawker. So I'll just touch on them now because that's the informal market. The informal market is mostly made up of um, informal traders or hawkers, however you choose to name them. Just to give you size, um, like an indication of the size of the market. These numbers are numbers I have estimated. They're not exactly right, but they are based on research. So ShopRite, they spend 8 billion every year buying fresh produce only. But I also know that they have the biggest market share out of the top 5 retailers. So if we were to overestimate the size of the retail, of the formal retail, I would maybe times that 8 billion by 6 or 7 to include the other four retailers and other smaller nyana shops, medium-sized supermarkets. So that's a high estimation. I think at the very least, the formal retailers are purchasing goods for about maybe 40 billion rand per annum. Then you have the municipal markets. I know that the Johannesburg market, I think 2 years ago, their revenue for the year, so how much fresh produce went through the market was about 5 billion. And I know the Johannesburg market has almost 50% of the market share of all municipal markets. So I'm estimating another like 11 billion is passing through the 17 municipal markets. But what's amazing about informal traders in Johannesburg, informal traders bought half of the 5 billion. So they purchased 2.5 billion worth of fresh produce, I think in 2019 or something. So I just also want to highlight that blows my mind. I don't know if it's blowing your guys' mind that informal traders are buying half the biggest municipal market. Informal traders are buying half the produce there. So what characterizes a formal and an informal retailer? I don't think what I'm about to say it's set in stone. It's just a general rule of thumb. A formal retailer might require you to have a formal contract to supply them, but that's not always true. A formal retailer might require you to have some sort of food safety certification, some sort of GAP certification for you to supply them. That's also not always true. A formal retailer, maybe they operating from a building that they bought, whereas an informal trader, they are operating in the CBD under their own tent or gazebo. Formal retailer have more formal payment terms, so maybe they'll pay you at the regular intervals weekly, whereas an informal trader, sometimes they pay you upfront, sometimes they pay you at the end of the day. Informal traders take cash. Even the way a formal retailer orders goods versus the way an informal trader orders goods. A formal retailer can order goods from you a week or 2 weeks in advance, or even give you a projection for next year. They can tell you for the next 8 months what they want from you every week. Whereas an informal trader, obviously, they don't do that. When we used to work in the informal market, we struggled a lot with predicting quantities because some of the mamas, they wouldn't place an order, or some of them, they see the truck in the morning and then they want to buy. So we always had to predict how much cabbage to buy, how much spinach, cabbage to buy. Obviously that's not great. Sometimes you're going to have leftover inventory, or sometimes you're going to underestimate, and lose money. So yeah, so I don't know if I've missed anything out in answering the question of what is the difference between a formal retail and an informal. For me, mostly it's informal traders versus every other like shop that you see. And then apart from like that, it's a sole trader. Informal trader is a sole trader. It's also like what they require from you. Informal traders aren't gonna ask you for GAP certification. The last thing. This is gonna be the last thing. What that we notice is that depending on who that retailer is servicing, the type of stuff they want is also different. So the cabbage that Woolies or Checkers wants is a small, neat cabbage that doesn't have a lot of leaves. I'm sure you guys have seen that. Whereas a store like Boxer that's more geared toward the lower LSM, or an informal trader, they want big cabbages because their consumers want. Just given an estimate of the size of the market and shown like how much buying power the formal has in that overall big picture. Then I was just talking about the last difference between a formal and an informal retailer. But it's not only a difference between formal and informal, it's a difference between different types of retailers. So I'm sure you guys have noticed that if you just look, Checkers versus ShopRite, you can see that they're targeting a different type of consumer. Woolies versus Checkers, even though they similar but they quite different, they targeting different types of consumers. So when you want to supply any of these, even an informal trader, you have to understand their customer. An informal trader's customer, they don't want a small neat cabbage. You know, when you go to Woolies, it's a small cabbage that's wrapped in plastic that doesn't have leaves. Someone that's buying from an informal trader doesn't want that. They want a 3-4 kg cabbage that's big so that they can make a lot of food at home for their kids. Whereas at Checkers or Woolies, someone is looking for baby spinach, and stuff like that. So those are also differences amongst retailers, not only formal and informal, but even amongst formal retailers, there's difference in what they're looking for when you supply them. Yeah. So, Shana, I think I answered about formal and informal markets in South Africa, but specifically for fresh produce.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I think you did quite a. I asked you to cover this topic. My co-host, am I still on?
Yes, we can
Oh,
hear you, Shana.
wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All right, all right, right. So ShopRite is that big, yeah? So he's
Yes, ShopRite is the biggest. It's the biggest. It's got the biggest market share of all the big five retailers.
yeah. Makes sense though. It makes sense. They're international now, right? Okay, so you've covered the formal versus the informal market. Okay, now take us to those red tapes. I know you've touched there and there, but then take us through like the red tapes that are there in the vegetable market in South Africa that prevents someone who's just started farming from accessing the market. The people will say the market access or the vegetable market in South Africa has become like a tender system. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. I know you, you know me. So if the people are jumping the queue as well, so like a friend of a friend, without securing market off-take agreement deals and letter of intent. So what are red tapes that are preventing emerging farmers to access especially to access the formal market in South Africa? Thank you.
Cool, Shana. Okay, so I think it's true and it's not true, right? That there's red tape. Uh, but I say true and not true, so I'll give arguments for both sides. The real way you get a formal contract, even informal, right? All a retailer wants from you, whether they're an informal trader or a big buyer at Pick and Pay, they want you to deliver consistently and the quality they're looking for. So even if a buyer has a best buddy and they wanna put them on, I'm not saying that Umshiga Shiga is not there and a buyer won't put his friend. But if his friend fails, he's gonna drop him. All a buyer wants is to know that he can trust you or she can trust you. To know that most of the time, obviously, it's difficult as a supplier to always have stuff, but a retailer will see, okay, Shana, every year from September till October, he's my guy. He always has stuff, it's always on time, the quality is right, it's packaged right. Then you develop a relationship, and that guy next year October, he'll give you a piece. Even if, let's say, he's a bit of a shady guy and your market share should be 30% of the supply at that store, and he takes you down to 15, but he'll keep even that 15 because he knows he needs to keep his best suppliers happy. So as a big picture, I'm going to go into the red tapes that do exist, but I'm just saying, for you to get a contract and for you to keep a contract, and when I say contract, sometimes it's verbal. Some stores, they don't give you a agreement that you sign. It's just a verbal agreement. All of that is based on your reputation and your ability to supply consistently with quality. And I'm not saying that that makes the market a fair market, an open market, but I do think it's one of the most important controlling factors of the market. I would even say like 60 to 65% of how a buyer decides to work with you is that. So, but if I have to touch on the red tape, when you arrive to a buyer and you say to them, hey, I have a farm, you send them pictures, can I supply Pick and Pay? If you don't have that reputation and you haven't proven to that buyer, he's obviously going to tell you those things like, oh, do you have gap certification? And the reason he's asking you that is because he doesn't know you. Those are the things that can easily help him see if you are capable. So it doesn't mean that you are capable because you have them, and it doesn't mean that you aren't. But because he doesn't know you, you don't have a reputation, you haven't been chasing after him for a year. By the way, that's how we got some of our retailers. Um, we've been speaking to Boxer for like 9 months before they even gave us a chance. In fact, they gave us a chance during COVID because the value chain was disrupted and we were ready to pounce on that gap in the market. ShopRite, I think we had been bothering them for like 2 years just to show you like what you have to do. When ShopRite said, okay, we're going to give you a chance, let's visit your facilities. At the time, we had a pack house, unused, under-equipped pack house in Richmond that the old municipality had lent us. And because we knew ShopRite is gonna say, oh, food safety, what? We quickly took like maybe 7,000 or 12,000. We bought tables, we bought a scale, we bought a few things. We cleaned. We took a weekend, all of us and our employees, and we cleaned that pack house. We cleaned it, we made sure it looked spick and span. We moved in those tables, and then we invited ShopRite to come visit us. And obviously, they're not stupid. They could see that we haven't really used this pack house or whatever, but we explained to them the situation and we told them if we can get their contract, become their supplier, then we will be incentivized to upgrade this pack house and use it. And obviously, like to a buyer, you sound like you know what you're talking about. He can see you made the effort. So, and I keep saying I don't like not respecting any gender, but the world of buyers is dominated by males. There's not a lot of women that are buyers, especially fresh produce. That's the one I have experience on. But yes, so red tape would be the food safety, which is, do you have a pack house? Do you have gap certification? Then another red tape that is not really the retailer's fault is lack of transport. So a lot of farmers, especially emerging and small scale farmers, they are producing, but when it comes to accessing markets, one of the biggest problems is transporting goods to those markets. One of the reasons is because a lot of small scale farmers are based in the outskirts, so they're not on easily accessible like transport routes to market. Then transport is also very expensive. So for you to deliver, now you have to think about economics. One of the cheapest rates I know for a fresh produce transporter, he charges us about maybe 3.5 from Maritzburg to Verulam, which is 120 Ks. So imagine as a farmer, you are sending 600 cabbages, and you're taking them to the market, and you're lucky you're gonna get 10 rand per head. That's 6,000 rand. That's 6,000 rand revenue. Am I right, Shana? 600 times 10. Yes, 6,000 rand revenue. You're sending it to the market. This logistics guy is gonna charge you 3,000. You left with 3,000. Uh, you left with 3,000 from that 6,000 revenue. It probably cost you 2 rand 50 per head to produce each cabbage. So that's about 2 rand 50. It eats up more into that 3,000. So I'm just saying that even the unit economics of transporting goods, it also plays a role against smaller farmers. A farmer who's transporting 600 cabbages versus a farmer who's transporting 3,000, the guy will charge the same. So those are other like barriers to accessing formal markets. I would say that for informal markets, something that happens a lot, especially in KZN, is something called Baki traders. So it's a guy that has a van, 1.5 ton van, and he supplies informal traders. So he goes to your farm and he buys at the farm and he buys cash, and then he takes it to informal traders. So that's one market that I would say small scale farmers can more easily access, but there's obviously challenges there as well. So there's many barriers, but I won't lie, guys. And I know it sounds easy to say it now, like in now that I've passed that hurdle. You must put in the work. You must build your reputation. You must be well known. People must know you. You must So I did say ShopRite, we were like chasing them for like almost 2 years. I've seen my co-founder, he's shown me his messages on Facebook from like 2019 when he was bothering these buyers, and they would ignore him. And maybe every week or every 2 weeks he would DM a buyer like at Boxer and say, hey, whoever, let's say his name is Scott. Hey, Pravesh, I've got cabbage. Send a picture. Please let me know if you want. Pravesh will ignore him. 2 weeks later, he goes back. For like a year, my co-founder was doing this. So you have to like there's no corners, unfortunately or fortunately as well. We are Africans, we are black people. We're not all born with networks and privilege and access to markets, right? So you have to like fight, you have to put yourself out there, you have to build your reputation. So yeah, that's my big answer for the question, that don't make excuses. Just dive in. You're gonna make mistakes, learn from your mistake, and get better until you've built your reputation.
Awesome, awesome. This what you've just shared with us today, as it's what also happens in football. Sorry to change the subject here and there, but skill, talent on its own, it won't work for you. You can have the skill, you can have the talent, but you need hard work. You need to put in the work. You need to be out
Mm.
there. You need to push, and you need to move out of your comfort zone. Because one thing that also brings down many farmers is you become comfortable. I know I'm supplying Balisa with cabbages, all right, and I'm just happy. Okay, Balisa is happy. I've secured the markets. Let me just chill and plan for Balisa. What's going to happen if there are other farmers that are always trying to get to them to secure a market with Balisa almost every day? The moment you drop the ball, believe me, it's going to be very hard for you to get back into the game and supply Opalesa again. I'm just making an example here. And you need to make sure, again, you mentioned this, let the product speak for itself. You understand? When you send the product to the market, it needs to say, okay, this is a serious farmer. Because the things that we see there at the fresh produce market, sometimes it's just crazy. It's just crazy. So thank you very much. And you're sharing these stats, and I'm just like, wow, wow. There was a stat that you shared in the formal, in the saying, the informal traders, so the people that buy from the fresh produce market, accounts for almost half of the revenues there. And when you check the revenues, they're in the billions. I'm like, but most of
Yes.
these informal traders are, are blacks. Sorry to put it like
Yes.
that, but are blacks. Like, I'm like, come on, what's happening? And
Yeah.
there is something that you also touched when you talked about the infrastructure, because most of these fresh produce markets infrastructure, they are just, it's too unhygiene or something like that. I'm not sure, but it's just not properly managed, if I may put it in that manner. So I saw something. If you guys could go and check Joburg Fresh Produce Market, they've changed a lot of things, even including their website. It's new, and they're working on something for the, what you call this thing? What you call a refrigerator storage facility, Palisa? What you call that?
You mean at the Joburg Fresh Produce Market,
Yeah, they're gonna introduce like
like a
an
cold
a
storage or what?
cold, yeah, cold storage. They're gonna introduce a cold storage now. So they're busy working towards that, which I think it's great. It's a great initiative, and it's gonna help. I hope we're gonna benefit. Like when I'm saying we, I'm talking about the small guys in the fresh produce market. Okay,
Yes.
so moving on. Can someone who has never, planted anything before, decide, what, I have money now, let me plant, and then I'll worry about the market later? Or should I start with the market and then work backwards to planting? How does that work? Are you able to secure the market before planting, or you need the product, and go and show the product before you secure? Because I find it difficult sometimes to secure markets in general. And you mentioned that there are, especially in KZN, you call them the Baki hawkers that come to your farm and buy. Don't those people like work in a way that it's just like a what you call this, a word of mouth marketing? So your product needs to be really, really, really tough for them to spend maybe 50, 60 kilometers from Durban to your small 1 hectare farm. So just talk to us about that. Do you plant first, or you secure the market first? How does it work?
I would say this is my opinion. I don't think it's easy to secure a market before you plant. I don't. How would you even do that? Like, what are you showing the buyer? What do you know about? Buyers can also hear when you speak. Do you know? Let me just give examples here at AgriCool. People call us, and when I first started at AgriCool, my co-founder used to be like, "Balisa, people are gonna waste your time," and he would tell me how he could hear that someone doesn't know what they're doing. And now I've learned enough that I can also spot it. So someone calls you and they say they have cabbage, but they don't know what variety they planted. They don't know the planting population, the population density. They don't know when they're gonna harvest. They don't know anything. So already you're like, this person is wasting our time. There was even someone that said that their tunnels are, we asked the size of the tunnel, and they said the tunnel is a kilometer or something. So I was just like, yeah, people they don't know what they're talking about. So already as a buyer, because I would say Agricool is a buyer, you already know I'm not going to take this person seriously because they don't even know basics, like what's the population, plant population for cabbage. But anyway, to answer your question, for me personally, I don't think you should try, or you can try, you should do both at the same time, but you shouldn't stop planting because you don't have a market. The reason I say that is because I don't know if farmers know this or not, and it surprises me because they're farmers. I know the municipal markets have many, many, many problems, but it's free to supply the municipal market. You don't need a contract. You can just take your stuff there. Yes, there are millions of problems. There is a likelihood, I don't want to say high, I don't want to say low, but there is a likelihood your stuff won't get sold, it will rot on the market, on the floor. But there's already a free retailer out there for you. That's the municipal fresh produce market. So already, like, if you say I don't have a market, you do. I would say that the next problem for you as a farmer when you're deciding to grow is for you to do your unit economics. I keep talking about this. If it's gonna cost me 2 Rand 50 to grow a head of cabbage, and I stay far from the market, so it's cost me one Rand 50 to take a head of cabbage to the market. It means that if I get 6 Rand per head at the market, 250 plus 150 is 4 Rand. I'm only making 2 Rand per cabbage. I don't know if that's gonna cover my labor, if it's gonna cover what. Okay, labor would be covered under the 250. Maybe your overheads, repayments, or buying a tractor or whatever. So more than you saying I don't have a market, it should be, am I equipped to grow and transport these goods to whichever market I can find? Meaning, how far am I? Firstly, like, do an assessment. Okay, I live in Richmond. What are my available markets? There's the Mkonto market, the one in Maritzburg. There's the one in Durban. How far away are they from me? One is 50 k's, one is 70 k's. Fine. There's also many retailers in Pietermaritzburg. There's also a big informal market. Those are the type of questions you should be asking yourself before you even go look for a retailer. You should map, who are the retailers in my area. You should map, are there transporters in my area? Walk around, interview other farmers, ask them who's transporting your stuff. Look into your budget. Can you afford a bakkie, a trailer? So my answer is no. I think there is already markets for you. In fact, you can just drive up to the CBD with your bakkie with cabbage, and informal traders will buy from you. The last thing also about that the markets already exist, that which is my point, is also that when you do your assessment, when you do your research of whether you should start planting, another important thing is to look at what are my advantages. So me and Shanna talk about this a lot, where there's farmers in KZN who have a regional or geographic advantage. What do I mean by that? In Richmond, there's a small area in Richmond where from December until March, only those farmers have good quality spinach and cabbage. Why? Because they're at a high altitude. That area just happens to be high distance above sea level. So in December, Jan, Feb, I don't know, as consumers, if you've noticed that there becomes a scarcity of cabbage and spinach. Maybe consumers don't notice because retailers actually start sourcing from other provinces. But retailers, it stresses them that they have to source a low value crop like cabbage or spinach from another province. So they are looking for someone who can supply them in those times. So if you've done your research and you know, I actually, where I am, I have my winter, it starts 3 weeks earlier, like in Greytown. My winter starts 3 to 5 weeks earlier and it ends 3 to 5 weeks earlier. That means I can plant peppers, tomatoes earlier than the rest of Maritzburg, and I can get in the market 5 weeks earlier. In those 5 weeks, when you're early, that's when you make your killing because you're the only one in the province that's supplying that. And there's actually farmers like that. So I don't even think markets are the most important thing, but if you haven't thought about those questions, if you haven't done the research, I don't even think you qualify to be talking about markets. You must do research before you do anything. If you buy stocks on the market, you do research. You check what's the performance, historic performance at the JSE of this company. What about them do you think will make them continue growing in the next 2 years? You have to do your research for anything. So I think that's what farmers are lacking. And sometimes they, especially if someone has money, they feel like, oh, because I have money, I'm going to easily enter this business because I have money to grow. I can hire a farm manager. No, you have to like do your research, build relationships. Actually, relationships are the most important thing in this industry. Building your relationships with input suppliers, fertilizer companies, everything is about relationships. So if you have capital to plant and you are willing to research, plant and go to people and show them your beautiful cabbage. keep going back to them, and that's how you build the reputation. But if you haven't planted anything, I can't see what you're showing the buyer. You just coming like with your open hands and saying, yo, please, can I supply you? Come with a nice cabbage, with a beautiful cabbage, and say, my stuff looks like this.
Awesome, awesome. I think you've yeah. Now looking at the training that we'll be having, and you've just touched on many aspects, and I can't wait. I can't wait for the participant to learn so much from you, because what you're just sharing is just it's the cake. There's that thing there, the cherry.
Mm.
When you've just covered like the first tier, there's like 10 more tiers going up. So I'm so happy. I'm so happy, and I'm looking forward towards it. Okay, Palisa, you've covered almost everything, and you've literally, I think you've covered almost 20, 30%, or even maybe half of the question that I was going to ask you, uh, which was going to be about the market trends, watching the market trends, understanding when when is the scarcity going to be in the market, at what time of the year, what crops, when to plant those crops so that you can have, high margins or higher margins of those crops when they are out of supply, especially in your region. So yes. Can you just you have covered, but can you just and we are running out of time, so I think we're gonna end the space at 10 past 9. 10 past 9, at 10 past 7. Sorry. So can you just and just 5 or even 10 minutes talk to us about cashing in big bucks in the vegetable sector, what you should look out for, when to plant. You've mentioned the logistics side of things, the kilometers from to the market, building relationships, things like that, but focusing more on how I can, because we see cabbages at some point in time selling for just a head 35 rand, but then you ask yourself, how much did the farmer get? So if the farmer is getting 40% of that, you see, at that price, that farmer is killing it, is literally killing it, because throughout the year the prices of production or of producing that particular cabbage is not that different. Uh, there is a difference because in winter crops tend to require less water as opposed to summer. There are, and
Yes.
also in terms of management, in winter management is literally easy because there's a small chance that you will suffer from insects, pests, and stuff like that, even weeds, because it's winter. So just talk to us about the margin, getting higher margins. How do farmers go about that?
Okay, so I would say the first rule of thumb is always plant. So before we get into that, like who has an advantage, when is the market ready for my stuff? I mean, obviously, depending on which part of the country you are and your expertise and your pockets and your budget, already you're gonna pick what you're gonna plant from there. Most farmers start with cabbage and spinach. They're one of the easiest and cheapest to grow, and demand is always high, right? But apart from that, before I talk about like the deep stuff, is always plant. So try to be a farmer that no matter if the market crashes or the market doesn't crash, every season, let's say you're a farmer that has cabbage every winter, be that farmer. Always have it in winter. Remember, we spoke about reliability with retailers. So if you sometimes don't plant or you didn't plan your budget well, you don't have money, or you just last week potatoes made money and you switch from cabbage to potatoes, you're not gonna move forward, right? So whatever you choose to plant, stick to it. Not saying that you mustn't plant other stuff, but stick to it. Always plant, no matter what happens in the market. That's the first thing. Then it's gonna take some time, unless there's someone that is already experienced in the market, for you to figure out the gaps, right? So agriculture is like the stock market. So why I say that is because um you have goods that you're producing, and by the time you harvest, the price could be high, the price could be low, and depending on when your product hits the shelf, it determines how much you're gonna make. Last year there was an oversupply of cabbage and spinach from like October to November. The farm gate price of cabbage went down from like 14, 12 rand to almost 3 rand. And even there, as a farmer, you have to make a decision. Like, you can't keep the produce in the ground forever. That's another tricky thing about fresh produce, right? It's perishable. It's not like grains, not like wheat. It's not like like whatever, like things that you can store for years. Cabbage, spinach, potatoes, tomatoes, they deteriorate over time. So okay, so I said always plant. Second thing is, if you have a friend that has knowledge, that's even better. Otherwise, you're gonna have to spend some time in that industry to start seeing the gaps. What are the gaps? Like I said, Greytown, their winter is like three weeks to 5 weeks ahead of the rest of the Midlands. So those 3 to 5 weeks, if you planted within that window, you're gonna harvest earlier as well, and you will benefit. In the Midlands again, I'm talking about the Midlands because that's where we operate. In the Midlands again, um, in winter, the farmers around here, they can't produce tomatoes and peppers and butternut. Those produce need warm weather. But farmers in the north coast, Tuba, Jozini, those type of places, they can produce peppers, tomatoes, and butternut. So that's another opportunity if you're a farmer there. You know that these DCs here in Durban, Food Lovers DC, ShopRite DC, Boxer DC, they're looking for that product. So you would have an advantage. So I don't know these windows for every produce, and I don't know the windows for every place in South Africa for now. I just know some of the fresh produce windows in KZN. Yeah, so that's another like something that can give you an advantage. So just to give you an example, we know that we have experienced it. December to April, we saw that there's a huge scarcity of cabbage and spinach in the Midlands, but we have a farm that can produce that stuff in those times. A farm in Moy River. The reason they can produce is because it's slightly cooler than the rest of Midlands in summer for them. So what we did is we planted cauliflower, broccoli, spinach. We were supposed to plant cabbage, but that didn't work out. Just to show you what a difference that can make. Um, Cauliflower and broccoli, you usually get between 8 rand to 15 rand per head on average, right? The prices fluctuate a lot, but I would say 8 to 15 rand. It probably costs you 3 rand, 350 to produce a head of cauliflower broccoli. When we started harvesting these products in February, we were one of the only people that had it in the region, and we were selling a head for 30 rand. So 3 rand cost price, selling at 30 rand. So you're making 27 rand off one head. Maybe taking 1,000 heads a week to the market. And that's not even, cauliflower and broccoli, you're not going to take tons and tons of heads, because cauli and broccoli, they are consumed in South Africa, but it's not as much as cabbage or spinach, right? So maybe we're taking 1,000 to 1,005 heads a week, making 27 rand per head. So already that's 27,000 from from 1,000 heads, and maybe you planted 30,000. So just think about that. Whereas if I had been selling the same product last year in winter, I would be getting 15 rand per head. So that's how much coming into the market at the right time or at a specific time, it can grow your margins immensely. But once again, for us to be able to do that, we have market intelligence, we understand the market. And by the way, when we planted this, we thought we would give it to one of our normal retailers like ShopRite, but we actually ended up taking it to the market. Why? The market also feels it when there's a scarcity. and the prices at the market are high. So the market is a great place for a farmer to experiment and to learn how to do stuff. In fact, the market should always be a good farmer will say 40% of my produce goes to this retailer, 50 goes to the market, and 10 goes to this. Like, also try and mix it up. Try service one or two or three clients properly, so the market is a good, it's got its problems. I know many problems, but it's a good place to try. So yes, once again, I'm talking about doing your research. When you get a farm and you start planting, don't just do it because agriculture is cool. And as black people in South Africa, we're all excited because since the land reform conversation started, I know black people are very excited about farming. But this is a serious job, and it's actually very, very tough. It's one of the most toughest industries ever, especially fresh produce. It can hail. Last week it hailed here in the Midlands. I think in Richmond, a lot of farmers' stuff got destroyed. Um, if there's a heat wave, things get destroyed. If there's bugs, things get destroyed. It's very easy to lose a lot. So you must also be ready. In agriculture, you win, you lose big, but you win big as well. So you must also be ready for that.
Yeah. When you touch about, yeah, what's yeah, I've heard farmers crying about it, and I think I also shared with you last year what happened when we experienced our last frost. We experienced actually two last frosts. Farmers know that this is the last frost, okay, and then they plant immediately after that. You mentioned that in Greytown, they have winter 3 to 5 weeks earlier than any other regions in KZN. So then, if you plant and then you know that, okay, the winter is going to end 3 to 5 weeks earlier again, as opposed to other regions, and then you plant. But then last year, I don't know if it was because of what global warming or climate change, things like that. But things got messy because the region that I am farming in, we experienced frost in September. Can you imagine? It jumped August. August was raining. July was raining, and then when people were like, "Okay, I think now it's summer or it's spring, let's plant." They planted, peppers, tomatoes, you name it, even maize. Hey, and then frost came, killed everyone, killed everyone. People were crying. I'm telling you. Okay, but yeah, it's farming is about risk.
Yes.
You don't need to be risk averse in farming. You need to take
Mm.
chances, left, right, center. You need to man up. You know, we don't need people with weakness here. You need to man
Yes.
up and be strong. Have a strong heart, and you'd see people living at large, especially people maybe in other careers and stuff like that, driving fancy cars and stuff like that. And you'd find me driving NP200 or even worse, a very old Nissan 1400, and I'm fine. I'm happy, but at the same time, when things are looking up, definitely copying one or two, Land Cruise or
Yes.
Legend 50s.
Yes.
But
Yes.
yeah, so it's dirty work, it's dirty money, but it's long money. If you get what I mean, it's long money. Once you get it right, like once every, in farming, I always advise people, give yourself 5 years, you know, 5 full years. I'm not talking 5 years while you're working and you're doing this thing part time. No, resign and focus on farming. My brother resigned when, I think last year or 2 years back, or I don't know. Resigned because he saw that I last had a job in 2019, official formal job 2019, and I've been doing farming full time because I saw that, you know what, you can't do this remotely. You can't farm. You are in Sentin and you have a farm in KZN.
Mm.
It's crazy. It's crazy. But yeah, Balisa, you've covered everything that I had for you tonight. Just before I let you go, before we close the space, okay, I see. If you have any question, you can just type questions there on the comment section, because if I open a discussion now and I let people come in, it's gonna be, it's going to be a long session, and we already passed our time, which was 7 p.m. So if you have any questions, just type it there, and then I'll ask Palisa, and then we'll close the space. But before we do that, Palisa, just, this is the last question that I have for you tonight. What what would you tell someone who wants to venture into, vegetable, um, into the vegetable market in South Africa, or someone who has planted and is like, okay, my cabbages or my spinach are like 2 3 weeks old. I'm now looking for the market. What sort of motivation or advice do we have for those people? And here on Twitter, we do have people who want to venture into, crop farming. So in short, do you have any, last words and for those people? And also, I'm thinking about something now, but then I'll ask towards the end. But for now, people, please send those questions, even via my DMs if they're personal. I don't know. But if you want to ask something, just there on the comment section, type your question. Palisa, over to you. Any advice?
I mean, I think I'm just gonna be like reiterating stuff that I've said. But something I haven't said is, I say this with a grain of salt, a pinch of salt. I know that maybe as Black people or young Africans, it's not always easy to do something out of passion, because most of the time we're just trying to survive. But passion is extremely important for you to get anything right. Mostly because, one, it allows you to continue when things aren't easy, and two, passion is what like ignites, let me say, innovation, or like it sparks good ideas. If you're passionate about what you're doing, you're gonna continuously uh, self improve. Um, so I want to add that as a second thing about passion. So passion, and then continuous development. What do they call it? So I don't know if you guys know that when I entered the entrepreneurship space, I started meeting more and more people who don't watch TV a lot. I'm not saying that I'm like that. I love TV and stuff, but they read a lot. Okay, I read a lot, but I don't watch a lot of podcasts. I wasn't like someone that was always every second of my day. And I'm not saying you have to do it every second of your day, but it has to be a serious effort on your side to improve. Improve on what? Whatever you need to. Read more, read about your industry, read about your emotions, controlling yourself, improving your intelligence, your health, like exercise, go out more. So passion and then self-improvement. I think with those two, you will get the job done, because if you continuously developing yourself, it means vele when you planted 3 weeks in, you were like, okay, let me start subscribing to Farmers Weekly. Okay, I've read Farmers Weekly. Now I'm gonna join Shana's space. Oh, okay, I learned something great. Next week, let me go visit another farmer. Okay, next week, let me go visit the Durban market or the Msunduzi market. Next week, let me try um find a buyer. On Facebook, let me look through people's profiles on Facebook or on LinkedIn, right? That's also another cool thing that my co-founder used to do. Like look through LinkedIn and look at if he saw a buyer, ShopRite, he connects, then he then he pesters them, okay? So when I say pester, like don't call someone every day. You have to be like very tactical about how you approach people. When you approach people, firstly, don't say hi. When you DM someone, don't just say hi and leave it there. Get to the point. Hi, my name is Palisa. I have 30,000 heads of cabbage, and I think I could supply you from May, 10,000 a week. Always be specific, because people don't have time to respond to your hi. So that's the other thing about like self-improvement and stuff. So yes, know your story, get to the point and self-improve. All of that, I think it mostly falls under research. So those 3 weeks in, your cabbages are in. Continue getting better. Go to seminars, go to open days, go to farmers' days. Just put yourself out there, because relationships are what get you forward. And just having stuff in the ground is not the final. It's not the end of the destination.
Wow. You know, what do they call a fountain of wisdom? That's what you are.
Wow, Shana. Thank you, thank you.
It's deep, ne? It's that deep. And you are encouraging people to visit Farmers Day, and Farmers Week in 2 weeks' time. How about that? Okay,
I
all
said
right,
I said they
Malisa.
must also go to Shana's farming with
I heard
Shana.
that. Yes, yes, yes.
Yes,
No, man,
yes.
Malisa, it's been an honor. It's been an honor. You're one of the giants in the farming spaces, and continue shining, continue working, putting in the work. Never think you have uh what you have reached your destination. You will never, reach your destination.
Mm,
You just keep on
mm.
pushing, keep on. I want to see agriculture at one point. You saw what I said on WhatsApp. Like, I want to see you guys, up there. That 8 billion from ShopRite, I want you guys to account for at least 2 billion at some point in time.
Yes.
In like 10 years time. And
Amen.
Minage, I prophesy, things and into existence. I speak things into existence. so so it's wonderful. And like, guys, please follow Palisa, check Agricool online, and Palisa will be one of our trainers on our vegetable production uh, training, which we'll be having virtual on the 24th of June, which is like 20 days from now. It's gonna be crazy. So we'll have a full session, and then we'll have another session which only the participant know about for like an hour, where we'll have you just join, like, just come through, okay. Right now I'll be asking Palisa the questions that you guys have sent there on the comment section. Okay, we have Aleta. Okay, Aleta had a problem connecting. Okay, we have Iyaz Mutandabute. Yo, guys. All right, we have ears there. Ears is it a prerequisite to have a packing house or a shed when you want to supply supermarkets, supply chain crops? Palisa, um, that's that. I think you can answer that. Is it a prerequisite to own a pack
To
house?
have a pack house.
Yes.
No, no, but I would say, even this one, prerequisite is a heavy word for it, but I'm gonna use
Mm,
prerequisite. A pack shed, right? So
mm,
what's the difference between a pack shed and a pack house? Obviously, like, retailers aren't expecting a small scale farmer to have a pack house that has a
mm,
refrigerator and stuff. But how are you going to, unless you're always going to be, but even if you giving informal traders, when you harvest spinach, you need to wash it, you need to put it in bunches and put elastic. Are you going to do that in the field, or what? So even the most minimally processed, even minimal processing can mean washing only. Even that needs some sort of workstation. And that workstation, yeah, you can put up a table there in the field, but what about sun and rain and dust? So you at least need a cover. So I'm going to say that even if it's not the first thing you have, already in the first 6 months or year, you should have a pack shed. So that could just be any, like, even just a wooden structure, or net or something, but you have to have a pack shed. Then the more you get better and you make more money, then you can improve that pack shed until it's a pack house. But I would say a pack house is not immediately necessary, but you should know that supplying vegetables is not just growing them and getting them out the ground. You have to grade them, you have to wash them, sometimes you have to put some sort of minimal packaging.
Thank you. I hope ears you Upalisa answered that quite. Uh, what is this? Okay. Second question. Sorry, something. Sorry, message. All right. No, it's all right. Is there a market for produce such as sugar beans outside a branded product, unlike vegetables such as cabbage, which you can sell without it being associated to a certain brand? I hope this does make sense. Um, Palisa, are you gonna take this? This one.
Yeah, I'll try, but maybe you might have a better answer. I would say that um, sugar beans are, yeah, I would say it's more the branded products. But when I say branded, sometimes it's not even like a big retailer. So there's many like traders. There was a time I tried to trade sugar beans and I never got successful, but I did learn a lot about them. So there are like informal guys that are buying sugar beans. But even there, you need to have big quantities, right? So the people were asking for like 90 tons, 200 tons of sugar beans, right? So that's like um 200 tons is like six trucks, 6 30-ton trucks. Already, like, if it's just you alone, it's not very likely that you can reach those quantities. So I would say sugar beans, there is a market and outside branded products, but it's still a market that requires you to um, have big quantities. Sometimes they'll want those sugar beans washed. You know, yeah, it's not as easy, I think, in my opinion, to trade sugar beans as it is a cabbage or spinach. But maybe Shana can also hop on.
You've covered. I'll say about almost everything when it comes to those two products. Because you also mentioned something earlier when you were talking about different crops. So dry sugar beans fall under dry grains, if I may put it in that matter. So
Yes.
it has like a longer shelf life as opposed to cabbages, which has a short shelf life. So when you look at trading grains, grains quantity matters in terms of the market. Let's say you've got two markets, informal and formal. So you've touched on the informal guys. And another thing that I would like to advise you or anyone who's got a product and wants to sell, there are a lot of, especially on the grain side, there are a lot of scammers, people who want to, who are like in the middle, so not like Abu Palisa, but people who are in the middle, and then there's Upalisa, and then there's the market. You understand? So they watch out for those guys, the opportunists. They will take your produce and not pay. But at the same time, it's all lies, like the words. You need to, when someone says, "Hey, I want to buy," let's say, dry beans from you, and then you ask them, okay, so what are you looking for? And then they just say, no, I'm just looking for dry beans, red speckled dry beans. But then, oh, okay, in what quantities? I'm looking like, say, a ton, 2 ton. Already that person, you can tell, got to know, he's just, trying. But I'll say, um so there is no, like, because you're asking if is there like market for produce such as sugar beans outside branded products. Yes, you can. I'm not sure. Okay, let me just mention, there's another market which is called Hello Choice here in KZN. You should check it out, where farmers go there and then they, it's like a bid. So prizes, like, you have people, like a ton of like your dry beans can start at like 10,000 rand a ton, and then it can go up to at like 20,000 rand. So there are markets for unbranded products. And I would say they are almost informal, but they are formal at the same time. Because of the quantities that are traded and the types of commodity, which is dry grains. So unless you're going to be selling to, let's say, I'm just making an example, to Spa. Spa won't buy unbranded sugar beans because you've never seen, let's say, a bucket of sugar beans in the what you call this thing. at Spa, where people can just come and then with mugs or plastic, and then fill plastic and weigh it. You understand? So, but then as opposed to like what you call this thing, other crops, you can weigh like garlic, onions, and so forth and so on. And it goes back to what Palisa was saying: educate yourself. Things are forever changing, especially in agriculture. Things are forever changing. Just the other day, there was an article that I was reading. Now that cows can what you call this thing, surrogate. I've forgotten the term, but then there's a term for just cattle. But Nguni cow gave birth to a boron calf. Like it was
Mm.
just a surrogate mother. So,
Wow.
like they took an egg, fertilized it, a boron egg, fertilized it with a boron sperm. I'm just gonna put it like that, and then they put it inside a nguni, cow. You know why? Because the nguni cow, when it comes to what you call this thing, taking care of their calves, number one, they
Mm.
will die. They will die before their calves die. But then when you look at the other breeds such as Boran, Beefmaster, Bonsmara, so forth and so on, they don't have that motherly touch, that motherly care. You understand? And at the same time, Goonies, that Goonie breed is made to survive harsh South African conditions because it's our breed, as opposed to the Boran, the Fishmasters, which are from Europe, US, and so forth and so on. So then your chances of a Bonsmara cow giving birth or becoming pregnant and giving a birth are like 50-60% lower as opposed to a female cow or a cow, a nguni cow, because those chances are like 90% to 100. You understand? So you need to educate yourself, keep yourself up to date with what is happening. So yeah, it's just crazy. It's just crazy because I read this article yesterday, and we were talking with my friend about it, which is insane. I know now I've moved out of topic, but guys, you should check it out. Just maybe I'll have to share with you. Okay, so yeah, and then those were the questions, Balisa, and then others are just complimenting. They're saying very comprehensive and insightful, Balisa. Who else? Okay, the Umar Shasa was like, I was asked to bring the product before any contract, which is what also you encourage people to plant, have understand the product, understand the market, and try build relationships. If you have planted cabbages, take them to different markets, build relationships, DM people, ask for help, be what you call this thing, let people know you, be ish, this English is gone now, but let people, you need to be people need to be aware that Umahlase or whosoever is a vegetable farmer in KZN. We need to know you, Even if we don't know you, we need to know or hear stories that, Mahlase's cabbages in the market are crazy, So yeah, I think that wraps up the space for tonight. And I'm hoping maybe next week we'll have another one. So yeah, I don't know, we'll see, but Palisa, wow, thank you. I know you're a busy person. You are very busy, and you are always working. Thank you just for sacrificing your Sunday. We know Sundays for lovers, you understand? So thank you for taking thank you for taking like 2 hours to spend with us and share such insightful information. From me to you, yo, what's a blessing to have you on my side. So any like last word before I close the space?
Yeah, sure, Shana. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you bringing me onto your platform, and also especially like the stuff you tweet. It's so great. Especially like those days you were posting production plans or facts about different vegetables. I didn't know. that onions are stored for like 3 months. I noticed the quality of onions has been a bit bad lately, so it's always nice when you have some context of what's happening. Thank you for all the things you do for us, Shana. Okay, just to close off, maybe it's a slightly off topic, but just reminding everyone that informal traders in Joburg are buying 2.5 billion rand worth of fresh produce. I'm bringing that up because as Black people, I think we don't take advantage of our collective power. A, because maybe we don't know about the power we hold, and also maybe obviously we have some psychological conditioning that we don't work together and stuff. But specifically for agriculture, there's a lot of room for Black people, because Black people are the consumers of food in this country. So I encourage everyone here to, whether it's food or what, just try a little bit more in your life to direct your funds to Black businesses, and just don't give up hope. We have so much power. We have so much power in this country. Already economically, our pocket size is huge as Black people or as youth, or so yeah, don't give up hope, and let's continue working, all of us.
Wow. Thank you, Palisa. And that's it for us tonight. So we're back. I'm so happy, and it was a success. I hope to see more of you again. Uh, I don't want to promise next week, but we'll see. We'll see. This is farming with Shara. I don't want to say podcast, but it's a Twitter space, and it's season 3. Yo, finally we're here, we're back, and thank you for the support. Thank you also for the kind comments there. What we are doing and what information we're sharing with you guys. I know you need it, and yeah, let's push. It's a new week. Just I don't know. Just make sure that you do something good for yourself and for your business this coming week. If you are working, I don't know, just just be you, be yourself, and don't forget to plant at least one head of cabbage. From me to you guys, yo, it's been a pleasure, and thank you for having my back.